everybody. Welcome back to Almost Game Day, episode 12. We are pounding through the season. Thank you for coming back and tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. And I hated that I didn't have an episode yesterday because the NBA draft happened on Wednesday. And I was watching and I was like really excited to see, especially who the Magic were picking, especially because we're here in Orlando. Very intriguing options. And I really wanted to see, like, in this crazy sort of NBA experience, what's going to be taking place over the next month, how these teams are going to fill out the roster. Because as you know, the draft happened on Wednesday, took place at ESPN, a really weird type of setup, but it went flawlessly. Everything went pretty smoothly. So looking at the draft and looking how people would draft, especially the teams, usually free agency has already happened before the draft. So you can kind of see how teams are thinking based off of how they go into the draft. But that's not the case. Draft takes place before free agency this year because they really only have about a month and a half before the season actually starts. So what I wanted to do is, after watching the draft and seeing who was drafted, I wanted to pick the winners and losers from the draft. Who made the most impact on their team that would make them better, and who, in my opinion, didn't take many steps forward. So let's get started with the winners, because I think these teams really knocked it out of the park. You see it on the screen, but I'm going to go one by one and explain my thought process to all these picks. So number one, you got Golden State with James Wiseman. Now, obviously, Golden State had the second pick. So people were already saying James Wiseman is going to be a top 3 pick. I love him going to Golden State. A lot of people for about a couple months were saying, oh, Golden State's going to take LaMelo Ball. That's going to be a weird setup with Curry and all that. I love the Wiseman pick. When you look at a Golden State roster, the one thing that you seem is always missing is that high-energy, high-powered center. So when I look at Golden State with James Wiseman, the man can run. This is a 7'1" big man that can run the floor. When you got a team like Golden State, that's really all they do. There's not a lot of when they get in the half-court offense. Yes, he's going to be great to come off of screens, pick and roll action. But when you got a guy like Steph Curry coming off of a fast break, and you need a guy trailing, Wiseman is quick enough to get there. Now, again, everybody's talking about he only played like 2 or 3 games in college, and that might be. Again, he's a prototypical big man. So where does he fit? I think he fits beautifully with Golden State. And he hasn't played organized basketball in about a year because of him leaving Memphis to just enter his name into the draft. So it'll be very interesting to see how his stamina is. Is he conditioned? That's going to be a big factor. I'm going to assume he is, but with training camp in a shortened time frame, it'll be really interesting to see how it works. He'll be in the starting lineup probably on opening day. Now with Klay Thompson done with the year with that terrible Achilles injury, prayers up to Klay Thompson. It's absolutely terrible. I can't imagine going through an ACL tear and then an Achilles tear. It's absolutely dreadful. And all of our prayers here at HTF go out to Klay Thompson. But James Wiseman is going to be probably starting day 1 for Golden State and seeing how that works. I think they are a powerhouse. Again, they've got Curry back. Now you have Andrew Wiggins. Hopefully he can find a footing. Draymond and James Wiseman. Again, Klay's out for the year, but if they can get Klay back at some point in the next couple of years, this is going to be another Golden State team if they can learn how to play together in this new look offense. All right, my second winner, New York. I saw it was like 50-50 with New York fans. I think a bunch of people loved the pick, and then there were some people that didn't. Here's my take on Obi Toppin. The guy is Showtime. This guy can make tickets sell. He's a big-time dunker, big-time playmaker. The guy makes plays. He is everything that I don't think Kristaps Porzingis was for the New York Knicks. Kristaps, star in his own right, but he wasn't this athletic big man. He was a Dirk Nowitzki type, which made him a star in New York. I think the way that you see New York trending is young, fast-paced basketball. I saw rumors of Kevin Knox getting traded. I'm like, why would you trade Kevin Knox? He is a prototypical three player. The guy can shoot. The guy can drive to the basket. you need to keep a guy like him. The reason everybody was saying, oh, we don't like this pick by New York is, oh, we have so many forwards, right? Every year it seems like New York is drafting a forward. Kevin Knox, small forward. So drafting Obi Toppin, who could play the 4 or 5 position, depending if you want to go small or big, that's going to help New York run the ball. Now, obviously, the Knicks have so many holes on this team. They need guards. There's no question. They have very low guards when it comes to shooting. All of that, playmaking ability. But this is a good start. This guy can really help the team from day one and make the Knicks team a little bit more better. Like, you got Mitchell Robinson in at center. These guys are going to compete. That's, I think, what New York is looking at. But they are going to have to start getting some big-time players at the guard positions to be a contender in this league. Third winner is Boston, like you see on the screen. I love Aaron Nesmith. Like, this guy is exactly what the Celtics need, especially because it looks like Gordon Hayward might not be on the team for much longer. This is a easy plug-in. I don't even talk about it much. The Celtics have so much good capital on the team that they usually pick good. This guy is a Gordon Hayward type. He can shoot, probably the best shooter or top 3 shooter in the draft, in my opinion. The guy can shoot from anywhere, and he's a big, strong 3 guard. So I really like the pick for Boston. Again, if they lose Gordon Hayward, this is a great guy to plug in there at that 3 spot. And again, Boston loves to play that, ground and pound small ball. Daniel Tice is not a big center. He is a smaller center that is physical. So you could plug in Aaron Nesmith if Gordon Hayward goes out, or if you want to plug him in with a Jaylen Brown every once in a while, or a Marcus Smart. This guy's going to get those reps. Obviously, he's not going to start he'll probably be a bench player this year, but he's going to be a solid guy coming off the bench for the Celtics. And then Orlando. I don't want to say there's bias, because there really isn't. You look at Cole Anthony, and this kid, you take away his North Carolina, mishaps. We can look at that in a second, but again, number 1 player in the country coming out of high school. Chooses North Carolina. Father, former NBA player here, Greg Anthony. The kid is a stud. The kid can do everything. He can shoot. His playmaking is the only thing that we haven't really seen out of him. He's not a LaMelo Ball type when it comes to making these crazy passes and getting people open. He's a ground and pound, get to the basket, make some crazy shots. He can shoot the 3 ball. He did shoot 35% at North Carolina. But again, you heard what he said last night. Hardest year of his life for him. Injury riddled. Came back. There's no college basketball player that I can remember in recent history. Yes, Zion. But Zion had more. It was like these guys that know that they're going to get drafted in the top pick. For them to come back like Cole Anthony and Zion shows you the type of competitive nature and shows their moral compass. Cole Anthony was killing it first 3 weeks. Comes back, injures himself. He's out for a couple weeks, month or 2. Then he comes back into the season, finishes the season with North Carolina, even though they had no shot at going anywhere. That shows me the type of player that Cole Anthony is. I see the magic, and everybody's like, how are Markelle Fultz and Cole Anthony going to fit together? I actually think it's going to be like a Toronto Raptors type of offense a lot. You are going to see a ton this season, Markelle and Cole Anthony on the same floor. It's not like with DJ Augustine, right? He's the backup to Markelle. They don't really play together because it's 2 very different styles. DJ has to have the ball in his hands to be, successful. Cole Anthony doesn't. Cole Anthony can be that off-ball guy making other things happen when he's on the floor. But he can also be that guard, that point guard that facilitates everything. That bench for the Magic is going to be something serious, especially when it comes to scoring. Cole Anthony, Terrence Ross, Chuma Okeke when he comes in. It's going to be a very interesting bench, especially if the Magic can do some stuff in free agency. This is going to be an exciting team, and they're going to be able to defend. Cole Anthony can defend. Orlando is going to be a pretty good team this year. Obviously, Jonathan Isaac is out most likely with a torn ACL for the year. The future is bright for Orlando. The future is bright, especially with this pick. All right, now we're going to go to the losers. Now, I know you're looking at this and you're probably like, Sean, you're so stupid. Again, we'll just get to it. I hate the Anthony Edwards pick at 1. For Minnesota, I'm looking at Minnesota as a team, right? They're thinking, oh, we want to pair Anthony up with the players we already have, right? Karl Anthony Towns needs another star player because we already have D'Angelo Russell. We want Anthony Edwards. I was actually loving the trade rumors. I'm like, yeah, trade this number 1 pick away. You don't know whoever is going to be a stud in this league anymore, especially this draft. Everybody's saying this is a weaker draft. Next year, it's going to be a much better draft. Looking at the pick, what really didn't sell for it's like Andrew Wiggins when he said he didn't love basketball as much. He's doing it, blah, blah. Anthony Edwards said the same thing. He said he didn't love basketball. If he could go to the NFL, he would leave NBA in a heartbeat. That doesn't scream, I love the game. And he said he didn't love the game. He doesn't love basketball. If you come out and say, I want to go play football, then that's what he said. Listen, he's the number 1 pick in the draft. He's going to play. He's going to be, he's not going to go to play football. The NFL isn't drafting him anytime soon. But you need people that want to play the game. And Anthony Edwards, no question he should have been the number 1 pick. I would have traded the pick. I would have got a couple more first-round picks because that's what you need. You could have got a guy like maybe Aaron Gordon. You could have got somebody else that could go plug in and automatically be a stud for your team. Anthony Edwards, for me, it's going to be Minnesota fans like the pick, but you're going to see some hesitancy, right? If Anthony Edwards struggles, you're going to be like, oh, this guy doesn't love the game. This guy doesn't care. This guy doesn't care about the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think it's a recipe for disaster. It's, in my opinion, Andrew Wiggins 2.0 all over again. And that's it. I think it's Andrew Wiggins 2.0. And, we'll move on to my next loser. And that's Chicago. Patrick Williams. My opinion, the worst offensive player they have in the first round. Really killer defensive player, especially on the perimeters for his size. But I think it's such a reach at 4. Why? You could have had, you need playmakers. You need a playmaker that's going to really stand out. You got Wendell Carter Jr., right, in that center forward spot. I think you need to get a 3 or 2 guard. You don't know what you want to do with Zach LaVine. There's been rumors you're trying to trade him. Your best player. I hate, Chicago right now is in this, I have no idea what they're doing. It's like they've got some talent on the team, but I just don't know where that talent is going. It's very confusing. You have a good power forward in Chicago. Why not go get a 3 or 2 or 1 guard? It's a very confusing pick. Maybe, again, new coach, they're trying to implement defense. Chicago, one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA. But you could do it in other places. There are good defensive 2 guards and 3 guards that can still shoot the ball. Chicago could have also traded out of this pick. I think you could have got a guy at 8 or 9 that probably would be much better suited for the team. So that's why I put Patrick Williams as a loser, especially for Chicago. Phoenix, Jalen Smith. I think everybody really looked at this and was really confused. You're getting a forward. I'm assuming it's kind of, they don't really think they have a star forward on their team. So in that sense, good for you. You're getting a power forward that can plug and play right next to Ayton, and you're going to be fine. But when I look at this, you just made the trade for Chris Paul. Chris Paul doesn't have many years left. You maybe got 2-3 more years out of Chris Paul, especially with Phoenix, especially at that cap space. Why wouldn't you draft a guy like Tyrese Halliburton? Why wouldn't you? Or just get another point, Cole Anthony, RJ Hampton. There was other guys there that you could have. Listen, Chris Paul is a mentor to a young point guard. That, I think, would have been more beneficial for Phoenix. Especially, listen, you've got a great young core. Devin Booker is your star. Chris Paul is not your, next franchise player. Chris Paul's a rental. You're renting Chris Paul until he either goes to another team or retires. You're paying the man $40 million. Why not use that money to have him teach a younger point guard his skills? Imagine if Phoenix had that with Steve Nash, drafting a young point guard high. And they tried. This is what Phoenix should have done. Listen, Phoenix is going to be good next year, but I think they should have drafted Tyrese Halliburton with that 10th overall pick. And then my last loser is Denver and RJ Hampton. First of all, it was a crazy night for RJ Hampton. It looked like he got drafted by Milwaukee, then he got traded to New Orleans. Then New Orleans traded him to Denver. So he's already been on 3 teams. Here's my problem. RJ Hampton was this like perennial big-time player, high school player. Everybody's like wondering where he's going to go to college. And he chooses to go to the Australian Basketball League with LaMelo. And they played on different teams. But my big thing is he didn't do well in Australia. And I think everybody sees that there's a reason he dropped that much. He did not do well in Australia. And this isn't me saying it's a loser. Denver's a loser because they got him. I think it's going to take a little bit of time until he can become a star in this league. He didn't play well in Australia. Again, a young player, didn't go to college. I think it would have been so beneficial for him to go to a college and get coaching from John Calipari, Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, somebody of that caliber. Because that's what he needs. I think he needs a little bit of work on everything. Denver, it kind of reminds me of Bol Bol, right? Bol Bol drops because, again, nobody knows how to, play a guy like that right now, especially with his size. Denver takes the pick. Michael Porter Jr. has that injury. They take him at 15, or right in the middle of the draft. Turns out looking like it's going to go well for him. I think they took RJ Hampton because a bunch of people were sleeping on him, and it's another one of those picks that Denver's taken, and it's worked out for him. I just think this is a little bit different. He's going to take some grooming. I think you might end up seeing him in the NBA G League for a little bit just so that he can work on his skills, or he'll sit the bench on Denver for a little bit until one of Denver's big-time players that they can't pay anymore, like a Gary Harris, ends up leaving. So I don't love the pick for Denver. It could end up working for them in the long run, but right now I am just not the biggest fan of it. Especially for making that trade. All right, those are my winners and losers from the NBA draft. These next couple weeks in the NBA are going to be absolutely crazy and bananas. We've got free agency, training camp, trades. Like this, usually a summer's worth of NBA content is in a month. So thank you to all the NBA executives and the NBA players, staff, all that, because the work you're doing to make fans like us get content and get excited about sports, it's invaluable. So we appreciate it. All right, up next, as always, touchdown picks of the week. Stay tuned.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
All right, welcome back to Almost Game Day. Touchdown picks of the week. Last week, a little bit rough. 7-7. Not a losing week, but not a winning week either. I will say I'm so proud of the Patriots. I knew they would cover, but they played a hell of a game, especially in that crazy rainstorm that went over top of Gillette Stadium. But there's a couple other games. Seahawks. I think I'm officially done betting on the Seahawks. I think it's just put to bed. But yeah, let's get into Week 11. We are flying by these games. So first off, Browns Eagles. This game is very hard to navigate. I feel like the Browns and the Eagles are about the same when it comes to talent. Browns have a little bit more talent on the roster at this point, but they play almost exactly the same game. I really like the Browns here, especially, again, they're putting us some strings of wins together that show that they're good enough right now. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to go to the playoffs. The Eagles, they're just, I don't know what they are. The Eagles are they're decent, but they're not good by any means. Carson Wentz, I think, at some point you need to sit down and have a real honest conversation with yourself about, is Carson Wentz your quarterback? It just seems like he doesn't make the throws when they need to be made. He makes the touchdown passes, but when they're really either you're behind by a lot or when you really don't need one yet. Like it's very confusing to me. Right now, I'm going with the Browns at -3, betting the favorite here. I really can't bet on the Eagles at this point. If the Eagles win, great, but the Eagles division is absolutely terrible, and there's only certain games that you bet on somebody in the NFC South. Ravens, Titans. This one confused me a little bit. The Ravens were they're favored by 6.5. They lost the Patriots in Foxborough, and it was not close. The Ravens played terrible. Now, again, you could say, oh, they were in a rainstorm. It was, a bad condition for the Ravens. I wouldn't go that far. I think it's very simple. People are starting to figure out what the Ravens are doing. Lamar Jackson said it. He said, people are calling out our plays right as we're going to go do them. I think that's coming to hurt people. So, right now, I've got the Ravens winning because, again, they played really well coming off of a loss. But the Titans are good enough, especially to hold this game to a 3-2 point, victory for the Ravens. Don't be shocked if the Titans upset the Ravens in this spot. But coming off of a loss, I like the Ravens here. I like what they're going to do. I like Lamar Jackson coming off of a loss. The Ravens are not happy, and they're not getting closer to a playoff, berth. You got the Browns and the Steelers in your division. So you need to put some strings of wins together to put yourself in contention. So I'll go Ravens here, but Titans at +6.5. So you got money line and you got the spread. Patriots, Texans. Listen, I told you last week, I said I didn't think the Patriots would beat the Ravens, but you're going to start seeing the rest of the schedule for the Patriots is very favorable for Bill Belichick. Young quarterbacks, young teams that make mistakes. The Texans are one of those teams. They're not very good. They don't lose the game for themselves, but they just don't win it either. So, again, Romeo Crennel is the interim head coach for the Texans. I think Bill is going to make this game very enticing, especially with the Texans and how they play. Deshaun Watson's not going to be able to do much. Again, the Patriots had Brandon Cooks. They know what he's doing. We don't know if Stephon Gilmore is playing yet for the Patriots. I'm assuming he is. But again, you're going to start seeing a string of wins come together. In that division, the AFC East is one of the most enticing divisions, especially right now, since you got 3 teams that could go to the playoffs. Obviously, one of them is going to get knocked out. But the Dolphins, I think right now, and this is my little prediction, you might see the Dolphins overtake the Bills in the AFC East as the number 1 team. If the Dolphins can keep playing like they are, the Dolphins have a much easier schedule coming up than the Bills. The Bills have to play some really good teams. So as of right now, I like the Dolphins a lot better than the Bills in that AFC East matchup. And this week, I like the Patriots beating the Texans. And the Patriots are going to go on a win streak. If they continue to win these games, they look playoff bound, especially with how they're playing right now. Saints, Falcons, everybody needs to calm down with Jameis Winston. Everybody's like, oh my God, here we go. Jameis Winston taking over the Saints. He's going to throw a bunch of picks. Let's hold off just yet, right? Jameis Winston, if you look at his career against the Falcons, has played really almost perfect. He's played them really well. He wins a lot of games against the Falcons. He's only had 9 interceptions against the Falcons in his career. There's not much else to say about that. The Saints are the much better team. They've got the better defense. There's not anybody on the defense that's out or that's hurt. The Falcons, it's going to be hard to move the ball, especially on that Saints defense. So I'm going to go Saints win and cover here, -5, regardless of Drew Brees being out. I think Jameis Winston can be that game manager that they need. Taysom Hill is not going to start for the Saints, guys. It's going to be Jameis Winston, and I think he's going to do beautifully. I say Saints win here and cover that -5. Colts, Packers. Now, the only problem that I have with this game is I don't know what the Packers are anymore. The Packers kind of confuse me. They have good games, and then they have really terrible games. Jacksonville, I put a bet on them with the spread 13.5 against the Jaguars. I thought, listen, I know the Jaguars play hard, but at some point, when you're the much better team, you blow a team out. A team can play only hard for so long. And the Packers looked like they were just going to give up the game. Aaron Rodgers looked uncomfortable, especially in the pocket and throwing in the pocket. But with that being said, I don't love the Colts. I haven't this whole season. I don't love the Colts. I love the Packers. So for that reason, I'm going Packers win and cover the +2. This is going to be a very interesting game. If the Packers absolutely get demolished by the Colts, then that's where my Super Bowl prediction might start to get rescinded, because the Packers need to beat teams like the Colts, who might go to the playoffs, have a good record, and have a good overall team. If the Packers can only beat up on these non-playoff bad teams, they're not going to go anywhere. The NFC is a deep division. You got to play some teams that have big-time power offenses and big-time defenses. And if the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is giving you fits, then there's probably some underlying issues there. So I'm going Packers here. I don't love the pick, though. I don't love it. All right, Chiefs, Raiders. So the report came out a couple days ago that pretty much the whole Raiders starting defense had to quarantine because of close contact with somebody with COVID. They'll probably play. They're probably going to get a negative test. I'm not trusting it. I think the Chiefs, again, the Raiders embarrass them, put up 40 on that defense. I think the Chiefs come out here and really show what they've got against this Raiders team. I don't think I think it's about the spread. I don't think it's a blowout by either team, but I think about a 7 to 10 point victory for the Chiefs is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to go Chiefs win and cover that -7.5. Again, I picked the Raiders to cover last time. In this time, I just don't see it based off especially those defensive players having to quarantine, not practice, come in, have to play Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's a great recipe to beat the Chiefs. And that's Sunday Night Football. Now we're going to Monday Night Football, my favorite game on the slate. I think most people's favorite game. Buccaneers-Rams. These are two high-powered offenses. The only problem is people watched the people watched the Bucs last week and now just assume that they're good again. People forget when they played the Saints, they only scored 3 points. Let's not keep it twisted here. The Bucs are not the Patriots. They're not playing the Patriots are not playing the Rams. It's Tom Brady playing the Rams. And Tom Brady didn't play well against the Rams defense the last time the Rams played. I think the Rams win and cover here. I love the Rams in this spot. I think they found their footing on offense. They kind of found their niche on defense. They pretty much shut Russell Wilson down. Well, many eyes, the MVP of the league this year. The Bucs' problem is, again, they're not consistent. Tom Brady can beat up on a team like the Panthers, but they can't beat a team that's really good. They beat one team this year that has really been impressive, and that was the Packers. But again, you watch that game, and it's like the Packers barely beat Jaguars. So are the Packers a good team? Which is what I said. The Bucs have not beat a very good team yet. So, and I don't say the Raiders. The Raiders are a good team, but they're not going to the Super Bowl. They're not going to make it to that last game. So I like the Rams here. I don't know. I do like the Rams, especially at a +4. I think it's an upset, and I do think they cover that regardless. So if you still like the Bucs, but you think it'll be close, then just bet the Bucs or bet the Rams +4. That's a great spread to take, and I think it's going to be a close game. But we will see. That's good for ESPN to have that on Monday night. All right, guys. That's been this week's edition of Almost Game Day. Next week, we are not having any shows due to Thanksgiving, but we are having one show. I will be releasing a Thanksgiving Day special so you can get your NFL fix before the games on Thanksgiving Day. So that's going to be coming on Thursday of next week. So next week, no Almost Game Day on Friday. We're going to be coming a day earlier on Thursday. And again, no HTF shows next week. And then we're pretty much season finale time, guys. We're season finale time. A lot of the shows are going to be releasing their last episodes of the semester in a couple weeks. And I'm going to be still releasing episodes every once in a while in December. It won't be every week, but, we're still going to release content for you guys. So thank you so much for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Like always, follow me, follow Hitting the Field on Twitter. It really helps us out. DM us if you're interested in joining. We have a lot of openings for the spring and a lot more opportunities, so please DM us. And yeah, please like, share, comment all the videos. We really do appreciate it, and we appreciate your support. It means a lot. All right, guys, it is almost game day. Enjoy the games, guys.